What's going on, guys? It's your boy Sean here with the Tingly Anus podcast. We're doing a Trent versus the news segment because Trent bitches about the news every day at the gym.
Every single morning.
Every fucking day.
Okay, no, first up, who the hell chooses in a gym to have the fucking news on in the morning? Who?
Everyone, man.
No. Legitimately, who thinks that lifting to the sounds of some, like, late 20s to early 30s, never worked a day in their lives news reporters is the perfect thing to bang out some heavy sets of OHP or some squat to? Legitimately.
Dude, it's time saving. You don't have to... You can take 2 hours of your life and compress it into 1 hour by watching the news and doing your reps at once.
Then why does that 1 hour feel like 3, and why do I feel like I've become stupider by the end of it? I feel like we got some good content for this.
I think...
What do you got lined up for me here?
I think you guys kind of see why Trent bitches about the news a lot. So today we have 3 clips randomly taken from the breakfast show.
Shout out to TVNZ.
And then just to contrast, we have a final 4th clip from an American news agency. So we'll just kick it off with...
Spoilers, dude. Spoilers. Alright.
We'll just kick it off with this first clip.
Yep, let's go.
Because Donald Trump has received a brutal roasting at the annual White House Correspondents' Dinner.
I'm just...
Several members of his administration...
Okay, we're 2 seconds in, but can we please pause? Okay, now go back to the start and mute it, and I just want you guys to pay very close attention to that chick's fucking face. Just watch the facial expressions. Just, oh yeah, what have you got to say? Yep. Oh. Yep. Slight smile, wait for the laugh. Oh. Ah, so funny. What was that joke you just told? Oh, yep, acknowledge. Tell me she does not seem like a robot has just... What was that nod of disapproval? Who was that guy at the end? Okay, pause it. Go back. We need to rewind and enhance. Who the fuck was that? Get ready. Who the hell was that? Is this? I believe this is part of an Illuminati conspiracy. I wanna say.
I want to be able to go like frame by frame.
I know you can do it in VOC, but I'm just gonna accept that is probably both of their fathers, and that they're actually androids, and that he was Dr. Giro, and that this is secretly another timeline where Dragon Ball Z exists.
So, fun fact, that dude was their guest in the last segment. And then they're transitioning into the next segment. So they cut him out of the frame. But just as they were about to transition, the dude leans forward.
The classic adjust my seat, but have leaned like a meter forward, so now I'm in frame. Right, that makes perfect sense. Alright. Right.
We're to run it back.
I just... made it 20 seconds in.
Breakfast. Donald Trump has received a brutal roasting at the annual White
Brutal
House Correspondents'
roast.
Dinner.
Yep.
This is how you keep up with the young teenage market.
Tore strips off Trump. Traditionally, of course, the president attends the gathering of political journalists, but since his election, Trump has refused. Channel 9's Charles Crozier reports.
It's the closest the president would come to attending.
Hey, it's Donald J. Trump, or as you all know me, the source close to the president.
As Washington
pause.
dined in D.C.
One, how much? Just like this, I don't want this to become just bagging on Trump for being Trump, because he's already done enough there. But what a little bitch to just not turn up to his own, like, to the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
To be completely honest, if you saw the entertainment, like the rest of this segment, you'll understand why I wouldn't fucking go.
I mean, alright, but I still want to know more about this local state of emergency remaining in Rotorua from the major flooding. This is quite, I got, you know people in Rotorua. I don't know people in Rotorua. Is the state of emergency that it smells like shit?
It's hard to say. If the news told me something informative, maybe I would
I was
not.
just going to say it wouldn't be called the news. Alright.
Trump was in Washington, Michigan.
Okay, can't handle an umbrella.
Heard was invited to another event tonight, the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Okay. Boo something which has been held like every... Fine,
in favour
fine.
of the same campaign-style rally he held during last year's dinner. Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders in his place and in the firing line.
Every time Sarah steps up to the podium, I get excited because I'm not really sure what we're gonna get. You know, a press briefing, a bunch of lies, or divided into softball teams.
Okay, pause it right there. Okay, that guy's reaction first off was way too stoked for any joke which has just been told. Secondly, I don't know why it sounds like she's speaking to me as like a 9-year-old whiny girl. Is that whether that's just her voice?
Oh, that's her voice.
Oh.
That's genuinely how she sounds. She's a comedian. Can't you tell from the hilarious jokes she just made?
Yeah, I mean, it just seems quite a bit honest. Like I know, Sarah Huckabee Sanders has gone up and consistently told like crocs are shit, but she's been fed those crocs are shit. It's not her choice to say those crocs are shit. I mean, just like having a dick shoved in your mouth, I guess. Like you sort of have a choice, but do you? Do you really have a choice?
I mean, I guess you could always bite back.
Yeah, but then Trump's just going to offer to pay you another $130,000 to stay quiet, and then forget to pay you the $130,000. Okay, so we've established that Trump can't make it, and instead this chick in the blue who looks very awkwardly uncomfortable is just getting roasted. Sweet.
I would say getting roasted is very generous.
Yeah. I mean, getting openly insulted.
I would say, yeah, with zero sense of humor, they are openly insulting this chick.
Yeah. Also, French photographer accused of groping Swedish print. Fuck, I would. Whoops.
That's staying in there.
Sorry.
Trump's also an idea guy. He wants to give teachers guns, and I support that, because then they can sell them for things they need, like supplies.
Ooh.
We should definitely talk about the women in the Trump administration. There's Kellyanne Conway. Man, she has the perfect last name for what she does. Conway.
The White House press
Okay, pause. That wasn't really a joke. I assume why they brought her in is just because, like, they're done playing softball, I guess. Like, taking it easy and making the jokes easy instead. Just like, okay, you want to dodge your own fucking, like, dinner that every previous president has pretty much attended unless they were shot. Which I think that was the last time someone didn't attend, or even they did attend. It was like Theodore Roosevelt. I'm pretty sure he turned up after being shot. And he was just like, oh, it's all good, I'll go see it, I'll go to a hospital after. But like, this little orange Cheeto can't turn up, and so now they're sort of just like, well, fair, open game, like,
Yeah.
fuck, I would.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice if they got an actual comedian in, you know, someone who's funny, who can be
Oh,
entertaining.
no, you can't put up someone that's actually funny. You've got to put up someone that doesn't mind risking their entire career because you've never heard of them before. So it's a win-win situation. She gets paid, and she goes back to not being to just being an unfunny comedian that no one knows about,
Yeah.
or a comedian people know about now, and some left-wing libtards and some wage cucks, as I like to refer to them, are going to support her now and follow her on Instagram. Everyone knows that's where the money is these days, being an Instagram whore.
Yep. You're not wrong. Alright.
If I could, I would.
turned into punchlines.
You guys are obsessed with Trump. Did you used to date him? Because you pretend like you hate him, but I think you love him. He's helped you sell your papers and your books and your TV. You helped create this monster, and now you're profiting off of him.
Before wrapping up with one of Trump's
Isn't that just good
favourite
business?
topics.
All right, like an immigrant who was brought here by his parents and didn't do anything wrong. I gotta get out of here. Good night.
It's sort of okay. Pause. I gotta once again just shred these two because they're just awful humans.
Do you want to just watch the last little bit of the clip and then shred them at the end?
I was just gonna focus on the fact that Michelle Wolf came across like a 16-year-old that got way too drunk, way too fast at a party, and is that bitch that openly has some pretty good insults when they're sober and at high school, but then when you get a couple of drinks in them, just turn into like an arrogant cunt who just points obvious things out. And she's drunk as fuck, and people are just like, oh, like she'll probably try to fight you if you push her anymore. One of those girls. Anyway, yeah. What happens here? Please.
What happens here? They just...
Saying what everyone's thinking?
Yeah,
Saying?
yeah.
I mean, no. That paper readjust. That was planned. Do you think they teach that in How to Be a Reporter School 101?
Everyone's thinking?
Yeah,
Saying?
yeah.
What? I shifted the paper up and I put it back down in front of the nice Microsoft Surface Pros.
Yeah?
100%. Do you think that they teach that in Reporter School 101?
I don't think you go to a report. Are reporters educated?
Oh, you get a degree in journalism. That's the one. It's like a 2-year Polytech degree.
Yeah.
Polytech degree. Those two words probably don't fit. Diploma. A diploma in journalism.
Certificate.
Yeah, like
attendance.
like a participation certificate. I totally don't
yeah.
have dyslexia with the mouth.
It's the classic, you paid your fees, we got to give you something for it, so...
Yeah, I mean, it only makes sense that, doctors need to go through 7 years and then through, like, residency and everything to become fully qualified to give people medical opinions. Engineers have to go through 4 years of education to get, like, a honours degree to then be able to give a qualified engineer's opinion. Pretty much everyone needs to go through... To be able to give an opinion, you need like some experience, you need some time in the field, but to peddle opinions on the news, 18 months in Polytech, get a certificate, and have a pretty face, and that's all you really need to peddle ideas to the masses.
Yep.
With no education background, no real smarts, just good family connections, and a fuckable face.
Yeah. I mean, he's not bad.
Would you not fuck her face? Out of anger, I would.
Disappointment?
A pity fuck. That implies a sort of... Either way, this is a good first clip, and I feel like I'm already digging myself a hole.
Yeah.
Yep. Alright, so first clip wrapped up. What do we gain from that? We gained some 16-year-old insults that I haven't heard for a few years. Classic recap of Donald Trump just being a little pussy and not turning up to things.
Yep.
Because his fragile male ego can't handle it.
Yep.
All us males have fragile egos, by the way.
And we glossed over the fact that Rotorua is in a crisis.
And that it'd probably grope a Swedish princess if given the opportunity.
Yeah. Alright.
It was a real learning curve.
Jump straight into clip number 2
Let's
then.
go.
I wish I knew what this one was.
Committee, 7:06 on breakfast. The government says BP has some serious explaining to do.
Oh, you've seen this
The
one.
company has been manipulating its fuel prices
yep.
across part of the lower North Island. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern is with us live
I don't
from
like
the
his amount of eye
this
contact.
morning. Tēnā koe, Prime Minister.
Also,
thank you for being with us.
fucking hallelujah,
What's
praise
the
be.
with what BP's been doing?
Yeah, and that's one of the issues. Of course, Commerce Commission has said that it doesn't look like they're breaching the law, but certainly I think when consumers see the decision that's being made by the company, they certainly wouldn't call it fair.
I can't pull
One
up
of
my
the
clipping. Yep.
She is genuinely the most attractive Prime Minister we've ever had.
I mean,
And she's up there with, but she surpasses John Key easily.
Yeah.
Bill English, a little bit of competition there. Helen Clark, smashes it out of the water. But just 100%, yep. I vote Labour in next election, 100%. Yep. I mean, this could just be, once again, a male ego speaking.
Just really quickly, just on the fucking scrolly thing. Trump asked his Twitter for advice on where to hold the Korea meeting.
I bet if he had his choice, it'd be McDonald's, because, pretty much confirmed that he has, Big Macs and double cheeseburgers for dinner.
Yeah.
But he has the most excellent health of any sitting president, according to his doctor, who also admitted that Trump pretty much forced him to write that medical certificate and describe how great Trump's health was, despite the fact that Obama could dunk on any fool in the White House. Fucking dunk on these fools. George W. Bush ran laps around the fucking White House and had a running track built because of how many laps he ran. And Bill Clinton ran to get pussy. Like, wow. Nah, he just got it under his desk. Never mind. Continue. So BP price fixing scandal in the North Island. Only the North Island. Because all the best stuff happens here.
It's actually Auckland, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But we can keep going.
Yeah.
Because we don't really have the ability to go in and do a further look at the way that this pricing has occurred. And so we're in the process of trying to change the law so that the Commerce Commission can do market studies like this and compel companies to provide them with information that will give us a better look at just how far some of these...
Because right now, I guess...
But here's the thing, BP is in business to make money, right?
I guess since, you know, we've been pretty lax on regulations and everything, the fact that the government can't ask for a company which is operating inside of its sovereign territory for information about how it's been setting its prices seems fucking shady to me. Of like, that we need to come up with new laws just to ask something, like that seems weird that isn't something we can do already. Like, the businesses just politely ask, may we please have these records? And BP has said no. Totally not shady. You know, what do you got? Is that a fucking aphid on the ceiling?
I don't know.
I thought I kicked him out. Anyways.
Just leave him there for now.
It's not doing anyone any harm. But yeah, like, does that not seem kind of shady?
Yeah.
Especially when there is a fuel tax on what they... Like, it's not just like a fucking water balloons at the warehouse, where it's like, sure, the warehouse can probably do some pretty shady pricing there. And it does have GST, I guess, but not like a specific tax on water balloons. You know?
Yeah, I think what they're trying to get at here is the government wants to be able to look at the methods they use to price things and how they distribute prices and how prices vary across the country, as opposed to just like, yo, how much money did you make in fuel?
I mean, I still feel like that's fair. To be like, how did you arrive at this cost?
Yeah, but like, yeah, they haven't needed to do that now. I mean, like...
Yeah, like, he's right. All businesses are in it to make money and everything, but, like, come on. The ethics behind it. I mean, shit, we did that course on ethics. Shady as hell. Alright, let's get back to it.
This is a banger of an interview.
It doesn't necessarily have any moral imperative to do what is right by the consumer, and if they think they can make more money by going...
Fucking pause it!
...this strategy, why not?
I don't get whether he's trying to play devil's advocate or what, but stating that no business has a moral imperative to do good, right? I am willing to wager an amount of money on the fact that if I were to pull up the BP's like modus operandi, that I would be able to find their page on ethics, which states that they try to do everything to help people and that they do have an fucking moral imperative. Oh yeah, first result, BP, our people and ethics. Strange, very strange. To attract and retain employees, to engage with, to have employee engagement, to reward people, to have increasing female representation, for sustainability, for looking after, doing what they can to look after the planet, to give back to the community, to help graduates. Wow, it's almost like he is talking utter and absolute shit about what businesses have to operate for. Jeez, wonder if he did his research with his fucking smartphone to just have a simple search, you know? Wow.
So we're 1 minute into this clip.
Yeah.
Well, I guess some of the questions then lie around issues like, you know, their suggestion that by increasing their price, they had a natural assumption that their competitors would increase their price too. And so that there is a fine line there around the way that kind of behaviour
Very well handled,
takes
Jacinta.
you. And so that's really where we want to be able to just make sure that they are operating within the law. And actually, regardless, Jack,
is that smug
it may
fucking
on the
law?
face of it be clear that they are, but certainly consumers will raise questions over whether or not this seems fair. And companies also rely on their social license to operate and people's level of
you
trust
fucking
in the
tell
way
them,
that they're
Cindy. You
behaving. And I
fucking
think
tell them.
that probably opening up a little bit more and demonstrating that they are playing within the rules is timely, because a lot of questions have rightly been raised.
I want to
100%. Yeah, she's like perfect gold. Stellar answer.
I think that picture is going to be our caption.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Jeez, just trying to think of as many like almost, what is it? Whose line is it anyway? Like, what this face? I mean, I'm just gonna lead with probably the worst one. When she says go slow, but the only speed you know is 100. After doing a tequila shot and realizing that you have no salt and lemon to finish it up with. When she says that she's starting to get feelings for you. When you accidentally ate all of the good food on your plate and like all the fucking lasagna and shit, and all you're left with is like some broccoli or carrots. You got any good ones, dog?
Not that I want to repeat on the fucking...
Not that you want to incriminate yourself with? It's only our sitting Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Still attractive.
Yep.
Alright, I've probably said that too much. Let's continue.
So Trent for Prime Minister's husband?
Oh man, Clark Gayford, that dude's also like, he's pretty fucking up there. Do you have it? Is your browser safe for
No,
podcast? Okay.
no way in hell is my browser safe for people to look at.
Alrighty then. I was just gonna say, like, we could Google them. But
What
just
is
look
every
up Clark Gayford, and you'll see what I mean. 100%. All right, let's keep going.
about the fuel tax while we're on the subject of petrol. So it's been voted in by Auckland Council, a regional fuel tax of 11.5 cents a litre. How do you stop the big petrol companies from not spreading that price across the country?
What? So Auckland City Council voted to put an 11.5 cent regional fuel tax onto all fuel providers in the Auckland region.
Yep.
And how does that? I guess I get what he's asking. Like, how do they stop BP from just passing that on to everyone else as well,
Yep.
of increasing fuel prices by 11.5 cents? But
so that just means that the government, the Auckland City Council, gets 11.5 cents more per litre of fuel sold. So,
Right.
so the consumer price doesn't necessarily have to increase. That would just make
it just cuts into the profit of the
the profit
right,
margin
right.
would be reduced.
Okay.
So
well,
his question is, how do we stop BP or other companies increasing the fuel prices everywhere else to compensate for their losses?
I mean, free market competition of, like, there's literally what he was just saying and what Jacinda just said of operating on good faith, that if one person increases their costs, you keep your costs the same, because why the fuck, like, it's a competition. I don't give a shit whether the fuel I'm buying is from BP or from Z or from fucking Caltex, whatever, because if I'm buying 91 fucking unleaded fuel, it doesn't matter where the fuck it came from. I don't care what people tell you about, like, I only buy my 91 unleaded from BP because it increases the performance of my car. I don't give a fucking shit. Like, who, you gonna be driving this car in 90 years when it actually makes a difference, if it makes a difference? Did you get out your little fucking test tubes and go to all the different fuel stations and then check the purity and check the content? Or did you buy a new car you bought 5 new fucking Pulsars, filled it up with fuel, had each 5 different members, no, had you just clone yourself 5 times, so all the driving conditions are the same, and drive 5,000 kilometers in the car, and then get a complete deconstruction at a mechanics to see what actually changed. Because guarantee, whoever says, oh, BP's fuel is better than Z, drove around, like, bought a second-hand car, drove around for 15 years in that second-hand car with whatever the fuck fuel, swapped to BP, and started paying for their premium fuel, or started paying for their fucking 91, and then got it in their head that now the car operates cleaner. Because, you know what? There's that whole self-fulfilling prophecy in your own head. The placebo effect? Yeah. So if anyone ever tries to tell you, like, nah, only buy fuel from this one place, who gives a shit? You're not going to be selling a fucking Mitsubishi Lancer for retail value in 20 years' time after you've gifted it to your fucking kids. You're not getting your money back. I feel like this is a point in time where I would say kill yourself, but like that may be a bit far, probably.
Just a tad bit far.
Like, yeah, a little bit far.
Not promoting suicide if possible.
No. There's better alternatives.
Yeah.
Like writing hate mail to this guy called Jack on One News.
Is his name Jack?
Yeah.
Oh.
Does he not look like a Jack?
Looks like a fucking jackass.
Oh!
So
roasted.
funny.
You fucking...
I could do a White House correspondent dinner.
Yeah, man.
I'd be fucking better than the other chick too, because my voice is bearable.
Yeah, you don't sound like a 16-year-old high school girl. Shall we continue? We are, like, not even a quarter way into this.
Yeah, well, by law, the only council who can put this fuel tax in place is Auckland. That was a pledge we made, that this would be Auckland only. So if,
that's what happens when a regional fucking council votes on a regional fuel tax, is that it's fucking regional.
The ability to apply regional fuel tax.
What?
That would be then simply adding that price for the...
Jack, do you know what the colour red is? It's a colour that's red, and the thing about the colour red is, it's the only colour that's that colour, you know?
Jack, the issue that's being debated down around Otaki and Paraparaumu, that was 3 cents.
In
3
your fucking
cents in one
pram.
day. Now, we've been having a conversation.
He looks like he's going to murder someone, by the way. Like, his paying attention look is very...
And this is happening in
like,
one day.
The
so
Shining.
Again, another reason to really make sure that the practice that we're seeing is fair and within the law.
But here's a proposal, right? So say one of the big fuel companies, this isn't necessarily going to happen, but say one of the big fuel companies goes, right, we're being stung 11.5 cents a litre in Auckland, we're going to increase our prices in Auckland 8 cents a litre, and in Southland we're going to increase our prices 3.5 cents a litre to offset that difference. We're still going to be paying the 11.5 cent tax to Auckland's council. How do you stop them from doing that?
Yeah, well,
just quick response. I don't want to cut in on an old J-Dog over there, but what a perfect example that is just absolutely fucking shit. The thing is, we were just discussing, BP's not the only fuel provider worldwide, nationwide, anywhere in the region. So if they increase their price by 8 cents a litre, why would someone else just not keep their price at the same? Like, it's illegal for them to confer between each other to have price fixing. So why would Z not just undercut them and keep their price the same, or increase their price by 6 cents, or like whatever? And at the same time, like, why should you give a shit, right? Because the regional fuel tax has been put on there to generate more revenue on the fossil fuel industry, right? Take fucking public transport. Don't get hit by the regional fuel tax. You know, all of the tax dollars which are being garnered from you paying for fuel are probably going towards, and are going towards, public transport. That thing which is heavily subsidized and like pretty much free for you to use. Yep. And just fucking ignore it. Let BP increase your cents per litre by, what, in this example, 8 cents, and then fucking Southland gets stung. I'm not cool with Southland getting hit because they probably don't have as great public transport, but they don't need as great public transport. There's no bus to take me between farms. Like, that's where it makes sense to have a car.
Yep.
Alright.
these have applied before. We actually had a regional fuel tax in Auckland that got dumped by the last government, so they have been used before.
So how do we
and I'll
stop
have to
them
go back and see whether or not there's any historical data. Well, companies actually have it within their own rights to set those prices themselves, usually though based on exchange rate, operational costs.
What? You mean the government doesn't set the fuel price?
Well, those are all justifiable.
Yeah.
I thought the government did everything,
sorry
though.
to interrupt. There's no way you
Those
can
are all
actually
justifiable.
guarantee people
But
in
because-
Southland that they're not going to get some part of this 11.5 cents
Well,
a
what I
litre. They're
can-
going to be
In
paying
this
that.
scenario, yes, of that one area you
Well, what I can
picked,
tell the people
they
in
are
Southland is
theoretically
if a company
angry.
does that,
Be angry at the
there's no requirement
fucking
on the
company for being money grubbing. Don't be
They're
angry at the
simply
government for
increasing the price
taxing a
of fuel.
dying
That's what they would be
medium.
doing.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what we've seen in Otaki and Paraparaumu. So do we
That's like, okay,
have
pause it.
to
Sorry,
have
I'm real good at metaphors and shit. It's like I punch you in the arm, right? Mm-hmm. So you take it upon yourself to punch Jamie in the arm. Jamie blames me, right?
Yep.
That's pretty much the statement that he's making. Is like, man, Southland would be going like, fuck Auckland Regional Council for putting an 11-cent regional fuel tax on it, and then BP was, fucking Auckland City Council forced their hand. There was no other option. We had to increase prices. Hey, did you see our profit margins last year? Our stakeholders aren't impressed with a $400 million profit. That's not enough. It's probably a lot more than 400 million, but
Yep.
how stupid is that logic? Like, what?
I like how Jacinda is actually arguing with facts and like logic, and this dude is just like, nah, because what if this one situation occurs?
Yeah, what if my theoretical scenario, which I outlined by saying this probably it won't happen, what if that comes true?
Yeah. It's like Jacinda's just like, the dude's like, what's stopping them increasing the prices everywhere else? And Jacinda's like, well, what's stopping them from doing that anyway? And he's like, well, in this one example, she's like, yeah, that one example is them increasing the fuel price because they felt like it.
Yep. And her response was like, there are records of Auckland Regional Council setting a fuel tax before and it was scrapped by the national government. We can go back and look at that historical data and really analyse to see whether other regions have done this. Because that's the thing about having regional governments, is that they make decisions for their region, right?
Yep.
The government can't tell every fucking region what's best for them. That's why. Oh, god damn it, Jack. God damn it.
really increase the
Halfway, man.
Fuck.
But that's, of course, as I say, one of the
Fucking
reasons we
big
want
ups,
to make sure that
J-Dog.
we can do these market studies is to check that people are being treated fairly in the way that some of our fuel providers.
I think I'm falling in
are.
love with Jacinda
But there's actually
Ardern.
no guarantee you can give people outside of Auckland that some part of that regional fuel tax
But Jack,
isn't going to be passed
Jack,
on.
there's no guarantee today that they couldn't do that. There's no guarantee today that a fuel company couldn't just arbitrarily increase the price of fuel. It is within their
Pause
rights to
it.
do that.
If I was her, guaranteed, in my head, I'm just thinking like, you absolute sack of shit. Like,
She
you
totally
just
is.
piece of shit. Like,
I think we're gonna have side by side fucking just the caption is the first just Jacinda faces.
yep.
Yep.
I mean, that's very ghost dick.
Yep. If
Some
you're pretty
arse with a
small.
pen. Yeah. Shout out to micro penises. I never thought I'd say that. Continue. Let's keep going. Yep.
What we're
Yep.
saying is the government will not be collecting excise outside of Auckland for that regional fuel tax. We've isolated to Auckland. If a fuel company arbitrarily raises the price in another part of the country, they cannot say that's been because of that regional fuel tax, because that would
You
be
fucking
a
told
lie.
me, girl.
They wouldn't
You
say
told.
it, they'd just do it. And this is the concern of the Road Forum.
No.
Of
And just
the
as
Road
I say,
Transport
they
Forum. They
wouldn't
just say
do
it's
it-
going to be passed on to everyone.
And that's, well, and what was the excuse for Otaki or Paraparaumu? There was none. Simply that it
Business.
was higher in Otaki and they wanted to raise it elsewhere because their competitors would
Yeah.
do the same and they wouldn't lose business.
Hey,
That's not fair.
I wanted to talk to you.
All right, I'm just gonna end this clip here. Because I think we're pretty.
I feel like we dwelled on this for a while.
We've had enough of just that dude.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, that's all you need to do as a reporter, right? Is just ask one question, get a response, and just move on to the next question you want to ask. Don't no back and forth, because there's actually no substance to your argument in the first place.
Yep.
Surprise, surprise.
Since we love that dude so much, we have more of him.
Oh, yes.
This one is a bit of a weird clip.
Really looking forward to that, Daniel. It's 17 minutes past 8 on breakfast. Kiwi online shoppers will no longer be free of GST. The government has confirmed overseas retailers will have to collect GST on all goods under $400 from customers next year. Our political breakfast club is with us this morning. Labour MP Kieran McAnulty and National MP Chris Bishop. Oh, hang on a moment. I only see one of you. Why is that, Chris?
Fucking astounding observation skills.
I think this. I mean, long-time watchers will remember the time that Chris Farfoy just sat here by himself, and then right at this very moment, I burst through the door when the traffic was running late on the motorway. So I sort of got half a sense that Kieran might just kind of barge through the studio door here. But I don't know.
Fuck, I love a New Zealand attitude.
So he's just told us, he's known about this for forever. He's just told us that he's sick this morning and he can't come. So
oh, fuck. He's known about this forever. He should have just chosen not to be sick today. Fuck.
Let's, I think this is how we're going to work it, okay?
Okay.
Chris Bishop, you be Chris Bishop.
Yep.
I'll be Jack Tame. But when I wear the hat, that will make me Kieran McAnulty, okay? So
Oh.
if I'm wearing the red hat, that's me as Kieran.
Bruh, I wish I could go to university and get a degree in journalism and then end up on arguably, like, this is a primetime news, primetime television network.
Yep.
At 8:18 in the morning. So I'd be willing to bet that a lot of TVs are tuned into this. And he's got his custom Make Poland Great Again hat. And he just gets to play that 7-year-old game of like, when I have this on, I'm me, and then when I say this and I put my hand up, I'm someone else.
Yep.
And you got to pretend like I'm two different people, okay?
I also love the lack of professionalism from the one politician there.
Yep. But no, to be fair, I've seen him speak live before. Like a good Wellington politician. He's crack up.
I don't doubt his political ability. I just like the fact that he came in with the classic Kiwi attitude of just like, bruh, I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, fucking let's crack some jokes. Let's.
Yeah, just like last
get
time I
in
was
on
here,
this.
burst through the door after a few minutes. It was, for traffic on the motorway, you know how it is.
Yep. All right.
This is me as Jack Tame. So
What's your sort of Wairarapa country drawl
well,
like?
I've already opened my EarTech shirt about 3 buttons.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
fuck.
We'll just be talking about Sheeran and the local cockies and
You
all
better
that.
know
cockies.
the local bookie odds as well on the number 3 at Trentham at 3 o'clock.
Holy shit, he's even busting out his TAB knowledge. This is a true lad.
Oh well, it's another tax, but it's something I've got to say that we were looking at as well. So we can't.
What are they even talking about?
Critical. Small business.
Sorry, I completely, what?
So the government is introducing tax on imported goods.
GST online. That's right. Okay,
First
cool.
up, what do you make of this move?
Oh well, it's another tax, but it's something I've got to say that we were looking at as well. So we can't be too critical. Small business will like it because it puts New Zealand retailers on a level playing field
that's
with
good.
those big online companies that ship to New Zealand. There'll be, I think, a bit of consumer backlash, to be honest, because people will have to start paying.
We've been getting things too good for too long.
The reason why people shop online is that they
Fucking
pay tax.
pause it, right?
But there's still, quite a big.
There's a lot. I remember after the election, there's a lot of hate going around for Labour and a lot of non-Labour supporters saying that Labour were going to ruin small businesses, right? And that, believe me, that it was an ordeal to listen to the I'll be quite honest with you, depthless arguments that were given from some friends and family members of myself that Labour would ruin small business and that would be going back to the Stone Ages and all small to medium enterprises are going to get fucked over by all this, all the new taxes and all the new law reforms, when they've literally introduced GST to online goods, which helps level the playing field for local producers of local goods not being charged tax, which is sort of the point on import tax, is that we don't fuck over our local businesses. And I'm just wondering where those people are now. Are they secretly happy out there, or have they found something else to be salty about? Or are they going to stop bitching about political issues for the next 3 years until the next cycle comes up, when they feel like their voices are valid again, and then fucking get their vocal cords ready to just screech for like 6 months before the election? Genuinely, I want to know whether they're happy about this, or whether they've just picked onto something else, or whether they're still hung up over that Auckland fuel tax.
I think people are just negligent, and they believe what they want to believe.
100%.
And as soon as it's not what they believe, they just forget about it. Like, as soon as they're proven wrong, they're just like, oh, no, it's not an issue anymore.
Yep.
Let's move on to the next
100%
thing.
that, like, oh, you've proved me wrong. I didn't even care anyway.
Yep.
Like, classic response. Alright, I suppose we should continue.
Cost advantage for people shopping online, so I don't think I will eradicate that cost advantage. So it's like a lot of things with tax, there's winners and losers, and we'll just see how the reaction is.
Okay, what do you say about the whole situation, Kieran? Well, actually, Jack, Bish is totally wrong.
Holy
It's
shit.
not a new tax.
Fucking hell, even the damn title makers are up with it.
Taxes. This is GST. GST has been in place for a long time, and really this is about evening up the game for New Zealand retailers. For the last few years, they've been punished by these big international giants that aren't paying the GST that our local retailers are paying. We want to make sure they get a fair stick in New Zealand, that they can continue to operate and offer Kiwis the best deal possible. So
Shit,
this is about evening the
when
game
he's not
for
himself, he
everyone
actually
involved in the
provides a
retail
half
sector.
decent argument.
It's not
This is scary.
It's not going to turn. It's not
That's
going to
why
turn many
I added
Kiwis
this
off
clip in.
Wow.
things online. I don't think 15% is really going to make too much of a difference at the price point. And really, it's about putting money that should be in Kiwis' pockets back into Kiwis' pockets.
This is scary, mate. I don't know if...
Holy shit, dude. It's almost like he's actually smart.
Like, the hat actually works.
I mean, this is just like, mate, is that the real Jack?
I think
Is
that
this the real Jack Tame? That he actually has an opinion, and he's generally well versed about things, but he's just been shoehorned into this role of being the relatable mid-20s male, or was a cis white male that shares the same opinions as all the oldies on topics, so then they have faith in the new generation.
Yep. Like, if we contrast this to the last clip, it seemed quite apparent that he was pretty much told to get Jacinda to say, no, we can't fix this
Yeah,
one
we
problem.
can't support Southland
Like-
in their
like-
attacks.
Like, there's nothing we can do as a government. We're here, if he's given, like, autonomy and the ability to logic something from one person's perspective, he can actually piece together a half-decent argument.
100%. Jack Tame, if you're out there and you're listening, it's okay to reach out to the Tinkly Annis podcast. We can have you on as a guest, and we'll put a voice masker on, and we'll just say that it's an esteemed news representative, and you can voice your mind and let us know what's going on.
Yeah, man.
Let us know if they're putting words in your mouth or anything else in your mouth. Full disclosure. The people will probably be able to work out it's you, but just come on anyway.
We're gonna have to have two esteemed fucking...
Ooh. One of them will be
Presenters now.
Jack Tame, and the other one will not be Jack Tame.
And no one will know which one's which, except for us and both of the guests, and whoever they tell.
Yeah,
So no one will be able to figure it out.
none. Alright.
Yeah, if you are hearing this, just flick us an email at tinglyanuspodcast
Yep.
at gmail.com.
Sponsored by TVNZ.
I check that once every 2 to 3 weeks. No one ever sends us an email, so if you are listening to this, just say hi, because it's better than nothing.
100%.
Yep.
That just any viewer engagement is encouraged. Even if you just leave a message in the comments below this video saying, we want Jack Tame on the Tinkly Annis podcast.
If we start a petition and get like six signatures, that's got to be enough, right?
Oh, we can easily take that down to TVNZ headquarters.
Yep.
Yep.
Alright.
Done.
You did a better job than he did.
Righto, issue number 2. The delay to the introduction of cheaper GP visits. So Labor, of course, campaigned on reducing the price of GP visits by about $10 across the board nationwide. However, the Health Minister, David Clark, has said that they're going to have to stagger that. So they were planning to introduce it July 1st. They're going to have to stagger that because things are pretty tight in the budget. What do you think?
Well, it's a broken promise, and I don't think anyone can really dispute that. As late as November last year, David Clark was telling Parliament it was a promise that they'd signed up to and they were committed to. I mean, there's a bit of schadenfreude here. I mean, we do have to say they were warned about this. I mean, a lot of us spent quite a lot of time in the latter part of last year saying the money is extremely tight.
Chris Bishop is national
MP. You're not going to be able to
MP.
fund all of the various promises that you say you're going to fund. And it turns out that
Who the
that's
fuck am
actually
I
correct.
thinking of?
So, look, it's about priorities. They've decided to spend $2.8 billion on free tertiary education for the first year for tens of thousands of students around the country, including a lot of people who would go to university anyway, who will go on to earn a lot of money later on in their lives.
Grant
That's fine,
Robertson.
you can make that decision. But, one of the flip
Similar-looking
sides of that
white
is that
faggot.
there isn't money for cheaper college visits for poor kids, for example. So it's about priorities, and they've made these.
Well, it is about priorities, and Labor has committed to trying to fund the health sector as best as possible. The truth is, Bish, that over the last few years, the national government has completely underfunded the health sector. We've overtaken.
Holy shit.
We've come into government with the health sector completely in crisis at the moment, and frankly, we want to make things more accessible for New Zealanders. We
Holy
know,
fuck, he's actually delivering a good
going to the
argument.
GP can be really expensive,
Christ.
and we're still committed to making GP visits cheaper for many New Zealanders. The truth is, though, you just have to balance these things. We have also committed to being fiscally responsible while in government.
Holy shit,
at the
pause
moment,
it.
we just think it's a balance. So yes, New Zealanders are going to get cheaper GP visits. It's just not looking likely it's going to happen on July 1st at this stage.
Fuck! Yeah, given autonomy, he can actually display a semblance of an argument that,
Yep.
like, I don't think I could have said it better myself. And, like, the relation of fucking Bishop over there saying, like, the government started to give free tertiary education to first-year university and polytech students. Okay, but how much of the budget does that encompass, you know? Like,
Yeah.
where were why not target the fact that the government, like all the previous governments that we've had, have deregulated certain industries, and like why not fully examine the entire budget and not just cherry pick two cases and say like, oh, they spent here and they didn't spend here. This must be related. They must have chose tertiary education over $10 GP visits inside of the first 6 months since the election.
Yeah.
Like first half a year out of 3 years.
Yeah. So the last half of the Jacinda clip has this argument where it's the dude in the red hat, like discussing with Jacinda, and he is like the typical like, I just want you to say this one line and we can call this interview done.
Yeah.
And fucking, I think this is 2 days later. He
Delivers almost the exact same argument.
he delivers Jacinda's argument, like, and I'm just like you knew this all along, but you were just digging to get that one fucking
That one
that one line.
soundbite.
Yep.
To chuck as the head of an article of saying Jacinda doesn't care about GP visits.
Yep. Jacinda delays GP visits.
Jacinda doesn't care about poor kids that need medical attention.
Yep. All right.
Well, hang on a moment, Kieran, because Chris raises a good point there. Chris raises a really good point there. You are spending $300 million this year on making sure that all New Zealanders in their first year of university get a year's free tuition. Why is that more important to you? Why is it more important to make sure a rich kid from Remuera can get a free year at university than someone who doesn't have a lot of cash
Pause
can
it.
go to the GP for a little bit cheaper?
I like how he jumps to the first case of rich kid from Remuera when the fact of the matter is that you could still end up with a $10 GP appointment regardless.
Yep.
It was an across the board. That was what he said at the start of the clip. Nationwide, across the board, cheaper GP visits.
Yep.
The rich kid from Remuera could end up with a $10 GP visit anyway. That's what across the board means. Also, the fact that they're rich shouldn't mean that they're disparaged from going to university. We already have a system which addresses that, by the way, with the student allowance helping pay for those underneath the threshold or whatever. Plus, with the fact that what does that have to do with the price of fish? You know, what? There's not equal fucking circumstances. Why should the rich kid from Remuera be able to go to public school in that case?
Yeah.
Also, the fact that these fucks right here are probably products of that same system of rich kids going to private schools, going to private tuition, private healthcare, and then private connections that have gotten them to this point in life, as well as the fact that, like, oh god, this is aggravating, dude. Like, guarantee that this is the voice of the overlords which have pegged this down onto him, because you know how, like, we've already been through this off the air, but how much money these television networks make from advertising, and the fact that they are shelling out their ideas for money from these corporations to an unsuspecting people that think that they're just watching the news when really they're getting peddled arguments that aren't even their own, and just becoming fucking puppets. And they have the audacity to talk about rich kids getting a free ride. Holy shit. Oh, I hate the news.
Well, again, Jack, you know, it's not necessarily a question of choosing one thing over the other. It's trying to get a balanced picture across the board. Labor campaigned very strongly on our free education policy. That is critical to Labor's success in the election, and it would be disingenuous for us not to follow through for that. Again, I would reiterate, New Zealanders are going to get cheaper GP visits. It's just not going to be on July 1st, and we want to make sure that New Zealand continues to have the robust economy that, yes, we have inherited from the national government. Good debate, guys. Thank you very much. We will continue.
Please tell me that you have something that can help redeem. Also, very harsh laughter from her at the end there. Just like that, oh, the camera's on me now? I can laugh. Like...
Yep.
Okay, please tell me there is some redemption found overseas. Some saving grace.
I think so. I mean, I haven't seen this.
Oh!
I know roughly what it's about.
Okay.
But here we
Welcome
go.
back. Vladimir Putin is being inaugurated for a 4th term as Russia's president tomorrow.
100%
Taking no
legit.
chances. Hundreds of anti-Putin protesters were detained in Moscow and other cities yesterday ahead of the inauguration. In Moscow, people chanted, "Russia without Putin," and "Down with the Tsar." Putin, of course, overwhelmingly won a discredited election in March in which some opposition candidates were barred from running. Putin has
Totally
famously
legit
interfered with the
Democrat.
U.S. elections in 2016, and Americans are even more politically divided than before. So joining me now to talk about what Putin wants and whether he's succeeding is Michael McFaul, former U.S. ambassador to Russia, and he's author of the new book, From Cold War to Hot Peace. Ambassador McFaul, welcome back to the show.
Great to be here.
That sounds pretty nice.
Great to see you in person.
Nice to see you in person.
Camera,
Well, we were all joking we were going to force the Stanford background in the back, you know, just so people knew that you always traveled with your own background.
Yes.
So, Putin, this decision to come after the United States, is this something he stumbled into, or was this something that it just grew, he grew angrier and angrier and angrier and decided it's time to retaliate?
Well, so these tactics he has practiced for a long time inside Russia, right? Disinformation, using videos against various political actors. And I experienced it myself as ambassador in 2012, a lot of disinformation about me.
Pause it?
So the tactics he's done before.
What was the most
100%. That is the case. For insider knowledge of being close to those that are of Russian descent and originate from Russia, that also just off the bat, wildly greater quality of argument, like in the first 15 seconds of this guy's discussion, than from anything that any New Zealander has said, bar Jacinda Ardern. But yeah, straight up, like disinformation, being disingenuous, the fact that people voted for people like Putin because his voice in Russian is similar to that of your trusted like grandfather or like a father figure, that you believe what he says. Like why would someone with such a nice voice do anything bad? Why would someone with such a nice voice hijack every single election that he's ever run in? Okay, continue. I'm loving it thus far.
Immediately there is a huge difference between like the quality and the content. Like,
even just in terms of the demeanor of the hosts, and yeah, like he can crack a joke, being like, "We were gonna force like the Stanford background of, I assume that's his graduating university."
I think this dude works at a university, and he brings his own backdrop for when he has interviews.
Yeah, it was a bit of
so
a
it
bit
looks
of a
more
meme.
professional.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
They can address that, and then they can actually get an opinion from him.
Yeah.
Which I would like to hear more. This is
Successful
pleasant.
disinformation that you had to work hard to undermine.
The most successful and frustrating was the narrative that Barack Obama sent me to Russia to overthrow Vladimir Putin. That appeared, Chuck, about every couple of days. It was very intense during his last presidential campaign. They would splice things that I'd written and take out the word "not" and make that appear. They would show the back of my head at a rally to make it look as if I was coordinating the rally. And whatever we did on
Just an
Twitter, on
articulated
television,
argument. I
actually
wasn't
sometimes
expecting
with
this.
President Obama talking to President Putin one-on-one to say, knock this off, we were ineffective.
I think this is
So
NBC.
it seems as if
Yep.
we've
Yeah.
heard, why did he want to do this? Well, first it was Hillary Clinton in
Yes.
11.
Yes.
All right, that was one. One of the things that we don't talk about enough is his anger about the Olympics and the doping scandal and the embarrassment that brought. And then there's these Panama Papers, which is the disclosure from this Panama law firm that essentially conveniently exposed the oligarchs of Russia, including Putin's wealth, frankly, of wealthy people around the world, everybody except Americans. It was an interesting...
Conveniently,
yes.
Well, you're
Which
right.
I
All
feel
of
like
those
that's
things built up. I mean, I think
suspicious
the
in
turning
itself.
point-
Like, just to address the Panama Papers real quick, which they weren't completely left out of. There were accounts of like, I believe like Apple and a few other corporations had their shit leaked of where they were using, what countries they were using as tax havens. So it's not like entirely devoid of Americans.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that there wasn't any major, like billion individual people like there were of like Russian oligarchs of like heads of oil families and whatever who were directly linked. But just once again delivering like an articulated argument, and yeah, like the host is being a bit choppy, jumping from a potentially divisive topic that the former ambassador is talking about, of just like the fact that he was getting a smear campaign ran against him, and that the president of the United States met with Putin and said like, you gotta stop this. And yeah, like the dude redirected it, but
He did
that's
it tactfully and like relatively smoothly.
yeah, as opposed to just like what we saw in the Jacinda Ardern interview, where Jacinda was trying to speak and then Jack just spoke louder until she stopped and then changed the topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
When he decided to go on the offensive was after the fall of President Yanukovych in 2014, the president of Ukraine. We did not have anything to do with that, but he blamed us. He blamed the CIA for overthrowing his partner in Ukraine. And that's when he said, to hell with these guys. I'm done dealing with these Americans. I'm going to strike back. That's when he takes Crimea. And when that's easy, then he goes into eastern Ukraine. And then he decides to go on the offensive. And all those events you just described is part of why he decides to go on the offensive and use tactics that he had used in Russia against us here in the United States.
Does he think that he's seeing results?
That's a tough question.
He's following up on what he's saying.
Trump promised
Actually
a lot of
paying attention.
deliverables, as we used to say in the government,
Yep.
to the Kremlin. He said he'd look into recognizing Crimea as being part of Russia. He would lift the sanctions. He was tough on NATO. He didn't say a word about democracy and human rights. And so they expected a big payoff. There was a lot of champagne drunk on election night in Moscow. He hasn't delivered on that agenda because the Trump administration has actually continued a lot of policies of the Obama administration. However,
Other than the
chaos,
ignoring sanctions against
our
Russia and continuing to operate all the same. That's like UN agreed upon sanctions that they've just sort of ignored. So not quite with you all the way, Mr. Former Ambassador, sir.
doing amongst ourselves, the withdrawal of American leadership around the world, all of those things are good things for Vladimir Putin, and so the Trump presidency in net, I think, has been good for Vladimir Putin.
John McCain in his book believes that we have not been tough enough on Putin, and he writes we have cyber capabilities too.
Okay, like pause it. 100%. He fucking annexed Crimea. Another independent nation that used to belong to the USSR and like was underneath the fucking Iron Curtain during the Cold War. That Putin was just like, hey, we're taking your land back now. You're pretty much a vassal state again. Crimea, a member of the United Nations, just No one fucking says a word. Like, they put sanctions in place against him. Trump ignores those sanctions. They send troops into eastern Ukraine, where Putin said, they're not Russian troops. They just have Russian weapons. Russian bulletproof vests, Russian, like, not uniforms. None of them, they're all wearing military outfits, but none of them are wearing Russian, like, the badges or any of the insignias. But they just happen to be completely armed to the teeth with all Russian military. Fuck, what a coincidence. Like,
Yep. Yeah.
only after his puppet in the Ukrainian president, resigned, which in his own words was due to corruption and feeling like he was a puppet, only after that does Russia intervene in the Ukraine. It's almost like he was working with the president of the Ukraine beforehand. Fucking coinky-dink, mate. Good old John McCain.
Used to expose the epic scale of his regime's corruption or to embarrass Putin in other ways. Yet I would argue, it looks like the Panama Papers, that was an attempt to do that and didn't work. So what would work with Putin?
Well, whether it works or not, let's wait and see.
Okay.
Lots of
I don't think
demonstrations
anything would work on
yesterday, and
Putin,
most
really.
of those people were talking
He
about
is such a
corruption.
stranglehold in his own
Interesting.
country
By the way, a lot of
that
those kids,
slander
like
from
kids.
overseas doesn't work. Like, once again, Russian family friends are like die-hard supporters of him. They've been trained not to believe information from the West and that to be completely distrusting. Almost like Trump supporters are like, as soon as they hear something that goes against Trump, it must be false because they're just trying to slander the good name of this good guy.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that completely xenophobic, closed-minded approach to the world of just like, oh, you say something that disagrees with me, nah, you're evil. No one likes you. So like the slander of like the Panama Papers and whatever, exposing that all these billionaires have been dodging tax and committing like illegal activities. The citizens of Russia don't give a shit about that, because as far as they're concerned, they have a good president, and the West is just trying to mess with them because that's how it's always been. Whereas in the West, like Russian influence into the election actually caused an orange Cheeto to enter power and be in control of nuclear weapons. Christ, dude. Scary.
It's pretty good to be out of that whole picture, pretty much as far as a person can get, aside from being in, well, even like China would be pretty shit with Trump's influence in North Korea and the whole Korea situation overall. We're about as far detached as you can get from that.
Yeah, which is why I guess the issues that we have with our news are like how it's presented and the topics that they're talking about, because we don't really have anything of substance to talk on, which just leads to a whole bunch more like closed-minded, closeted ideas when all we're doing is presenting things from the New Zealand perspective, because that's what gets viewers and like appeals to the fucking above 60s.
Yeah.
Who no longer work and get to sit home and have breakfast for like 3 hours between 7 and 10 a.m. while they read the paper.
Yep.
Okay, keep going.
They were arresting 12-year-olds in Russia. That's something new. But I agree with Senator McCain. We need a strategy. Tragically, I want to underscore, it's not something I wanted, and my whole book is about trying to avoid that, but we need a policy to push back, deter Putin, cooperate when we can and must on things like arms control, but basically contain his behavior abroad.
All right, I want to talk about the Iran nuclear deal. We're going to get a decision a week, approximately a week from this weekend, whether the president's going to pull out or not. The Boston Globe reported this week that former Secretary of State John Kerry
always pull out, man.
Was working with
even in a deal that takes 10 years to
allies
organize,
of the United States, his former
just that's a whole nother fucking killer
counterparts in other countries. What would Secretary of State Kerry have thought if former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice was negotiating or backseat driving U.S. policy with foreign dignitaries?
Well, he probably wouldn't like it.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I vastly impressed by the change in quality.
Yep.
I mean, I know also great face. I know we're watching clips from like a breakfast show, but still, the exposure that breakfast news has is like nothing to scoff at. it's still impacting like a whole bunch of people's ideas. I don't know, man. I'm genuinely scared. It's freaky to think that when corporations like that have such a stranglehold on what gets shown to people, and can just spin it in such ways that like you end up almost like just hating other countries, hating your own government, and like just disliking everything that you get told to dislike. Be scared of regional government because they're going to increase your fuel tax. Be scared of if you're in the South Island, be scared of the Auckland regional government for increasing the fuel tax for you, because that's going to hurt you. Be scared of doctor's appointments not being cheap. Be scared of university being free. Fucking be scared of dudes that put on orange hats and pretend to be other people and deliver rational arguments. Just take the piss out of them and talk about how they go down to the TAB and how he knows the fucking knows the stats on one of the horses at Trent racetrack. Like,
yep.
I guess that's all the news really exists for, isn't it?
Just
fuck, that's depressing.
Pushing my agenda on everyone else.
I mean, I do that anyway.
I mean, that's what we're here for. Tingley Anna's podcast.
We're pushing an agenda.
We are just...
Oh, dude, we're getting meta now.
We are the fucking breakfast show of real people.
Like, this is some, like, fourth wall shit right here. To be talking about our own podcast on the podcast. And about the influence and the agenda that we push by making this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, we don't really push an agenda, I think.
Other than supporting us on Patreon, GoFundMe, Kickstarter, transfer money to our PayPal, give us $100,000 and shit on the White House lawn.
I'll do it, man.
Give me $50 and I'll write a letter, or you can write a letter and I'll send it to whoever you want. What else?
Link to the fucking GoFundMe will be in the description.
If it ever gets made. I feel like this is a good point to call it, though, with your laptop about to die.
No, it's it. You might want to plug in my PC.
So how much time do you have left?
Like 3 minutes.
Okay. So, thank you for joining us this... What time does it go out? Oh god, no, they can see the date, they can see the time.
They can.
They know when this was recorded.
They do.
Maybe just can you put it in like After Effects and put like a shitty cartoon like different date or like a paint.
I'll cut out the guy who just leans into the frame.
Yes, yes, please, yes, 100%.
I don't know if I'm that good.
Get that dude, mirror flip him, fucking have him creeping in from the side of the screen. That'll make my entire year just done.
Alright.
Signing out from the first episode of Trent Versus. This is
Trent vs. Breakfast.
Yeah.
There'll be another one.
Trent vs. Breakfast News. I want to verse some actual breakfast.
It's going to be Trent vs. Lunch and Trent vs. Dinner at one point.
Oh, is there even lunch news? We'll find out.
I don't think there is. I think it's just infomercials. Right. Anyway, catch you guys next time.
Keep your anuses tingly.